Hello friends, I hope this finds you well and safe. I miss you. Today I'm going to read a story called Ruben's Rainbow by Sharon and Joseph. It takes many colors of the world to make a rainbow. This story of how a special little duck named Ruben finds his very own. In the pale yellow softness of the early morning sunrise, a new life was about to begin. Nestled away amidst the tall grass that grew near the edge of the bubbling blue stream, Ruben poked his fuzzy wet head out of his shell. With a big sigh and a timid little whistle, a baby duck said hello to the world. Ruben tried unsuccessfully to stumble to his feet. Now some clumsiness is expected with the first few hours of life. It's very hard work breaking out of a shell. Little ducklings need to rest for a while before attempting to explore the wetlands around them. As the day went on, morning turned to afternoon. The warm yellow sun grew brighter. The bubbling blue stream sparkled with excitement as it welcomed the new family to its rocky edge. One by one, 8 little balls of fluff peeked out from under the cozy soft blanket of their mother's snowy white down. They played catch the butterfly and hide and seek. Ruben could only watch from a distance. Ruben would never run and play just like his brothers and sisters. He was a little different than the rest of the ducklings that lived near the edge of the bubbling blue stream. One of Ruben's legs was shorter than the other, and the webbing on that foot was curled slightly instead of stretching firm and flat. He heard his father call out, "It's a birth defect." Heard his mother say he was just physically challenged. He heard the other ducklings in the bubbling blue stream call him cruel names like ugly and peg-leg and stumpy. These were all words that he did not understand. All he knew is he felt sad and different than the rest. The bright yellow sunshine of the afternoon gave way to the rosy pink shades of the approaching twilight. Ruben teetered and tumbled and waddled and stumbled as he made his way to join his brothers and sisters, all snuggled beneath the warm protective comfort of their mother's snowy white down. Days turned into weeks, and the soft fuzzy ducklings began to grow. Yellow fluff gave way to feathers. Happy and excited, the ducklings all ran to the edge of the bubbling blue stream. One by one, they peered into the water and quacked with glee at the sight of their reflections. Ruben teetered and tumbled, watered and stumbled as he followed the others to see what all the noise was about. Ruben found his family preening their beautiful new feathers. Each admired their perfectly placed snowy white down. He too peered into nature's mirror, but Ruben was surprised at what he saw. Half of his body was covered with snowy white feathers like the others, but his head was green. He had sections of shiny midnight black, blue, and molted browns and grays. With a tiny tear trickling down his cheek, he heard someone say, "Look at Ruben, he looks like a clown." He wished to himself that he wasn't different. He wished that his foot wasn't curled. He wished that he too could run and play like the others. Just as Ruben hung his head and began to turn away, he felt reassuring nudges from his parents as they came to walk beside him. Soon he was joined by his brothers and sisters, and they all told Ruben to be proud of the duck inside those feathers. "We are very proud of you just the way you are," his mother softly whispered. "You need to search for your very own rainbow. Ruben, there you will find your happiness." Ruben's mother was a farm duck who had never known the freedom of flight. Nonetheless, she was very content to live on the edge of the bubbling blue stream. His father was from a colorful family of world travelers called mallards. Ruben was a pleasant mixture of both parents, but because he was different than the rest, he often found himself left out of playtime. So Ruben grew to love sitting in the bright yellow sun and listening to his father tell adventures far away. His father spoke of the wind through his feathers as he soared across the bright blue sky. He spoke of lakes and oceans golden cornfields and purple mountains standing tall and majestic. As Ruben listened to his father's stories, he kept hearing his mother's words, whispering over and over, "Ruben, you need to search for your own rainbow. There you will find happiness." Now that Ruben had grown up feathers, he knew it was time for his own adventures to begin. One evening, as the rosy pink shades of twilight covered the blue sky, Ruben teetered and tumbled, waddled and stumbled to the edge of the bubbling blue stream and jumped in. He let the cool, flowing waters carry him past the tall green grass over that he knew as home, over the bumpy brown rocks in the river bed, into the dark and unfamiliar world that awaited him beyond the bubbling blue stream. Ruben began to search for his very own rainbow, and for happiness. In the pale yellow softness of the early morning sunrise, Ruben found himself far away from the bubbling blue stream and the tall grass that he once knew as home. He was in the middle of a big brown river. Ruben gracefully paddled to the riverbank, for in the water he could move like other ducks did. Reaching for the shore, he teetered and tumbled, waddled and stumbled to a resting place in the warm morning sun where he fell asleep. The pale yellow of morning gave way to the bright sunshine to the afternoon, and Ruben awoke to sounds he had never heard before. Could it be one of the places far, far away from that his father told him about? So Ruben teetered and tumbled, waddled and stumbled to the top of the bank of the big brown river. There he saw children. Lots of children were running and playing, giggling and laughing. Ruben had found himself in the middle of a little park located in the town called Rochester, Michigan. Ruben spent the afternoon teetering and tumbling, waddling and stumbling his way through the park. Not far from the banks of the brown river, he came to a pond filled with other ducks. Some looked like his father, some looked like his mother, but none of them looked like Ruben. Ruben missed his family. He felt alone. He hoped that no one would notice his curled up foot or his mixed feathers. Ruben paddled over to a group of farm ducks, but they swam away. He drifted over to the group of mallards, but they put their heads under the water. Once again, Ruben felt different and unwanted. He wished he could be like the other ducks in the pond. On the far side of the pond, Ruben could see a large gathering of ducks, and again he heard the sounds of children's laughter. The children were feeding the ducks, and everyone seemed happy. His journey had made him quite hungry. He joined the others, and no one seemed to mind that he was different, at least not right away. Ruben was happy, and the children were happy. He didn't notice that a little group of ducks had been swimming along behind him. As Ruben turned around to catch a piece of bread, the little group of ducks began to laugh, tease and splash water at him. A farm duck snapped his bill, and some mallards pushed him under the water, and they all swam circles around Ruben, quacking, "Go away, you don't belong here." Ruben began to cry. A little girl at the edge of the pond saw what the others were doing to Ruben, and she called her mother, and her mother called for help. From across the pond, the cries for help was heard. A sheriff's deputy, Deputy Mike, who was patrolling the park, quickly came running. "Help him," cried the little girl and her mother. Deputy Mike made loud noises and waved his hands and chased away the ducks that were pecking, poking, and splashing Ruben. Ruben swam as fast as his little legs could paddle to the edge of the city park pond. He crawled out of the water. Ruben teetered and tumbled, waddled and stumbled right up to the Deputy Mike, where he collapsed. Frightened and exhausted, he took refuge behind the officer's legs. The officer gently picked Ruben up and held him close. Ruben took a sigh and felt safe and loved. No longer mattered that his foot was curled. It no longer mattered that his feathers were mixed. Ruben was accepted, and he knew he had found a friend. Deputy Mike knew a quiet spot not far away from where Ruben could live peacefully, where differences didn't matter. He took Ruben to a tiny secluded lake at the ends of a winding road in the back of Addison Oaks, a rural park in Oakland County, where Ruben would be safe. Tucked away from the hustle and bustle of picnic packers and overnight campers, Ruben found a new home. There were many visitors that came and went from the tiny pond there. There were cranes and ducks, swans, geese, frogs and fish, butterflies and twinkling evening fireflies. All were different from each other, and they all shared one special thing. They accepted each other as friends. Deputy Mike, Ranger Roberts, the park manager, and the other park deputies stopped at the pond each day to check on Ruben and leave him corn and breadcrumbs to share with his new friends. All summer long, life was wonderful for Ruben. He remembered his mother whispering, "You have to search for your own rainbow, Ruben, and there you will find happiness." Ruben hoped the day would come when he would share his new home with his family. Yes, Ruben was indeed happy, and yet he hadn't seen any rainbows. It takes many colors of the world to make a rainbow. Ruben had been living in the middle of his very own rainbow the whole time. Ruben's rainbow was made by the golden yellow of Deputy Mike's star, the green of the tall grass, the trees surrounding the pond, and the frogs and fish that splashed among the tiny pond. There was blue from the sky, above that reflected in the water of the tiny pond. The purple came from the lovely wild flowers that grew near the water's edge. The cherry cardinals that nest in the clump of woods on the far shore offered brilliant reds, and there was rosy pink of the twilight skies. But where was the orange? There was no orange in the tiny pond at Addison Oaks, so this must not be his rainbow. As Ruben splashed his way across the tiny pond, he noticed a flash of orange under the water. The orange was coming from Ruben's very own 2 feet. Yes, he had found the orange needed to complete his rainbow. Think about it. It was the very thing that the other ducks found so funny that awful day in Rochester. Ruben had completed his rainbow with the very thing that made him different from all the other ducks. Ruben found his rainbow that day. It was right there, a part of him the entire time. The end.